The football world is in the array after witnessing the Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa suffer from a concussion following a hard tackle on the field. Everybody wants to know how it happened, why, and what the deal is now. So if you're ready, let's get into the latest piece of NFL news and figure out exactly why everything happened the way it did. Let's get right into it. First up, what even happened? The stage was set. The Miami Dolphins were facing off against the Cincinnati Bengals. Everything was going pretty smoothly until the Bengals' defensive tackle, Josh Tupou, crashed into Tua Tagovailoa and sent him spiraling toward the ground. It was at this point that his head hit the hard turf and our man was out cold. When he didn't get back up, people realized pretty quickly that something was wrong, and soon an ambulance was called and the Dolphins' signal caller was shifted to a local hospital and diagnosed with a concussion. Of course, questions were asked and eyebrows were raised regarding whether the player had even been fit to play the game. Even a few days before this game, while facing off against the Buffalo Bills, Tagovailoa struggled to get back on his feet after a particularly hard tackle. We're guessing that fans felt that it should have been a sign that the player wasn't in the best condition to play. However, somehow the doctors cleared him and declared him fit to play, and well, we all know how it ended. Next up, was it the doctors' fault it happened? This one was looked into quite extensively, and it was found that there had been some mistakes made on the medical end. The most prominent was probably the unaffiliated neurotrauma consultant who made a bunch of errors while checking out the player after his initial checkups before this game even came around. Of course, the players' union took action, and the neurotrauma consultant has since been released from duty. Still though, one has to wonder if this could have gone over as far worse than a head injury, and it's these types of incidents related to medical negligence that need to be handled really fast by the NFL. Both the NFL and the NFL Players Association carried out a joint investigation and discovered that there weren't any violations of the league concussion protocols. That's some good news at least. Thankfully, a decision was reached and both parties agreed that it was better to update the protocols as the outcome that had been reached was not satisfactory in the slightest. It's good to see the NFL taking such an injury seriously, as no one wants to see a player's career end early because of a minor head injury like this one. Though, we'll just have to wait and see what new protocols they put in place to counter these issues. It's still a pretty decent step forward in the right direction, and we couldn't be happier for the players. Alright, let's take a look at what Tua Tagovailoa had to say. First up, how did the whole ordeal feel? So according to the Dolphins player, he was knocked so hard onto the ground that the knockout was almost instantaneous. The man didn't remember a thing and was confused about what happened. We mean, he knew he'd gotten knocked out, but he didn't remember anything after that. Goes to show how dangerous the NFL can be. In a recent interview with the press, he talked about how scary it was for him not to know what was happening around him. He said that the scariest part of the whole thing was taking part in the NFL inquiry into the whole incident. He told us that he remembered everything about that night up until the moment he got knocked to the ground. He didn't remember being carted off to the hospital. However, he did mention that once the actual treatment began, he managed to come to and remembered most of what was happening. It's quite scary to think what would have been going through his head. With being on a football field 1 second and then waking up in a hospital bed, we don't know about you, but if it was us, we'd be expecting the worst. Thankfully though, it seems as though the player is on his way to recovery and is expected to start for the Dolphins in like 3 weeks. Let's see how he does when he gets back. Coming up, how does Tua feel about getting back into it? Upon talking to the player, we found out that he's pretty happy about his recovery. He told us that he isn't worried about his health in the slightest and strongly believes that he can get right back in the middle of it all with ease. He also went on to talk about how he wasn't affected by this injury or any other injury he's had in the past. To put things into perspective, the man has a string of injuries dating back to his college days. To anyone who thinks football isn't a hard sport, peeps are out here getting injured left and right. Tua went on to joke about not knowing how many concussions he's gotten in his life. We're glad he's finding humor in what is potentially a pretty dark situation to be in. He did talk about how he's learned one thing for sure from this incident, that is, to be more mindful of his body and take care of it better both on and off the field. We're glad the player got some sense knocked into him. See what we did there? Yeah, we know, we'll show ourselves out. For real though, things look to be looking up for the Dolphins player, and he seems to be very excited to get back into the game and on the field. We guess we can understand considering the man practically lives and breathes football. Let's take a quick look at how his coaches feel about the incident. First up, he seems to have impressed his coaches. His coach Mike McDaniel was pretty impressed with Tagovailoa's work ethic. He returned to practice last week and has been crushing it ever since. He talked about how he has a laser focus on his goals and is committed to making sure that he gets stuff done. His coaching couldn't be prouder of him because he managed to adjust to a new language and system so fast and hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. He seems to be happy and content with his role in the team and is making sure to do as much as he can to make sure his team succeeds in the field. Even when he wasn't cleared to play, he was still present at their last game when the Dolphins faced off against the Minnesota Vikings. Though the match ended with the Dolphins being handed the loss, he made sure to keep his team motivated from the sidelines. We can tell you one thing for sure, this man has a hell of a lot of heart. There just doesn't seem to be any quit in him. He's ready to make his mark in the world of football and nothing seems to be slowing him down. It's nice to see a player so readily pouring his heart and soul into the game he loves. We're excited to see how he does in his upcoming games against other teams. Finally, what can we expect from Tagovailoa in the future? Well, now that he's medically cleared to return to action and has joined the team in training, we can expect him to be starting for the team from their next game. It'll be exciting to see what he can do. He's managed to get some much-needed rest and recover to peak health. His coaches are happy with his progress and the effort he puts into his training and believes in him and his ability to make things happen. There's no doubt in our minds that this man will go on to do great things in the world of football. He's proven that he's an important member of the team and they need him as much as he needs them. Thanks to his dedication to the sport and the apparent newfound strict focus, he now has to make us think that he's gearing up to dominate on the field. He's learned a valuable lesson about protecting himself better on the field, so we're excited to see how it applies that in-game. We'll see how he fares in the next game he plays for the Dolphins. Now it's just a matter of waiting to see what happens. What we can tell you is that this dude is ready to conquer and help his team win this season. His spirit and ability to motivate other players on the team are cherished by the coaching staff. You can see how much he loves his team. Considering he showed up for them even when he couldn't join them on the field, we can't wait to see him tear up the field and help the Dolphins get out of their current slump in form. We wish Tagovailoa the best and hope he makes a big impact in the upcoming games this season. That's a wrap for this video. How do you think Tua Tagovailoa will fare in his triumphant return? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.